Hello again, everybody. Today I want to talk about how elders are appointed in the congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. So Jehovah's Witnesses teach that elders should be respected because they are appointed by Holy Spirit. But what does that mean? Do the bodies of elders feel some supernatural force guiding them toward a decision to appoint each man that they recommend? Does the circuit overseer feel that? Well, I'll share my experience. So first of all, to get down to what does that mean, what does the Watchtower mean when they say Holy Spirit's involved in appointment? On jw.org, question from readers, how are elders and ministerial servants appointed in each congregation? It says, first, Holy Spirit moved the Bible writers to record the qualifications. Second, those recommending and making such appointments specifically pray for Jehovah's Spirit. And third, the individual being recommended needs to display the fruitage of God's Holy Spirit in his own life. So there's no mysterious force at play. Basically, they're saying, well, if a person looks to have Holy Spirit and the elders are looking at the Bible and saying a prayer, then we can say Holy Spirit appointed that man. But of course, I don't feel that Holy Spirit plays any role in the appointment of Jehovah's Witnesses elders. And I'll share a little bit of my experience as to why. So the way appointments are made now, the body of elders of a congregation will look at every man that could be considered, talk about him, and if they feel that he lives up to the qualifications, they'll then inform the circuit overseer. And the instruction for circuit overseers mentions that he reviews the recommendations made in his circuit. During his visit, he will try to get to know those who are recommended, working along with them in the ministry if at all possible. After discussing the recommendation with the local body, he has the responsibility of appointing elders and ministerial servants. So, yes, that's true. The circuit overseer would come, and when I was coordinator, I would make his schedule. He's very busy, so we might try to get him to go in service with someone we thought should be appointed. And if he could, he would. So he'd talk to the person for an hour or so, and then he would talk to the elders, and if he agreed, he'd put the recommendation in. But that discussion was often about 5 minutes or less. Sometimes the man that was being put up for recommendation didn't even have a chance to meet the circuit overseer. But I never saw that matter. The circuit overseer always put it through. From what I could see, a circuit overseer would only deny a recommendation if he saw some outstanding issue either with the elders failing in their procedure or something from that person's past that maybe hadn't been looked into. Otherwise, they push it right through. What about the elders' discussions? Well, when we talk about displaying the fruitage of God's Spirit, the example from the Shepherd book is he zealous for fine works? Is he a good example in his attendance and participation at congregation meetings? Is he zealous in the ministry? So really you're looking at what someone does, not so much who he is. And is it really fair to say that Holy Spirit is evident if a Jehovah's Witness goes to meetings or in service? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. What do the publications say about going to meetings? Well, the young people ask, why go to Christian meetings? Awake 2012 says the Bible commands Christians to gather together for worship. But what if you don't enjoy being there? Number 1, be regular. Why would you want to be regular at something that you don't seem to enjoy? Simply put, because that's how you'll learn to enjoy it. Kelsey says, I was trained from a young age that meetings are not optional. Even when I was a child, it never occurred to me that I could just miss them. This attitude has stayed with me even until now. So, is it Holy Spirit moving Jehovah's Witnesses to go to meetings? Absolutely not. They consider and teach that it is mandatory for Christians. What about the ministry? Similarly, I have a few examples here, but maybe this is the most direct. The Watchtower 2004 says, indeed, a genuine Christian has to share in the preaching work because it is inseparably linked to faith. And actually, another article mentions too, have you ever felt so drained that you wanted to stop sharing in the preaching work? Think of Jesus. He endured the severest of tests for the joy that was set before him. By enduring in the ministry, you too can make Jehovah's heart rejoice. Actually, and there's another one that says, many publishers really enjoy the preaching work, but others struggle to find pleasure in it. So again, is it Holy Spirit moving Jehovah's Witnesses to be in the ministry? No, they're told that you make Jehovah happy, even if you don't want to, even if it's a struggle, even if it's a test. You need to be in the ministry. So what elders really end up looking for is people who are obedient. And that's who I was. I was raised from childhood. I was taught that you do not say no. So if the organization asks something from you, you just do it. And because I was, as they say, a yes man, I moved up the ranks very quickly. So I was appointed as a ministerial servant as a teenager. I was an elder in my mid-20s. And in my late 20s, I was appointed as the coordinator of body of elders, which is the highest position, if you can call it that, in a local congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. But what's interesting is the circumstances surrounding why. Why was I appointed as COBE? Is it because there was something special about me? No. It was actually the result of politics of the congregation at that time. So I think you might find my experience interesting, especially if you know these areas. So going back to 2019, the congregations were being merged, reshuffled, and my old congregation, Midnapore, was going to retain its name, but most of the members would be assigned elsewhere. An entire congregation would be added, formerly Deer Valley, and portions of a third congregation would be added as well. But the elder bodies of those two congregations that were going to be added to Midnapore had a lot of bad blood between them. And I won't go into too many details. I wasn't there. I don't know exactly how it went down, but I heard a lot about it along my way over the years. So basically, Deer Valley was not united. The body of elders was divided with two sides, each thinking the other was wrong. And I don't know if it was ambition or differences in personalities. Whatever the case, they didn't get along. And the one side kind of came to a head when they were trying to do a sneaky text message between them, breaching confidentiality, and accidentally sent it to someone on this other side of the body of elders. When that happened, at least two elders were to be removed. One was removed, but the circuit overseer who removed him told him, and he confirmed this to me, that was a mistake. The other one was to be removed, but transferred congregations before that was processed. So from Deer Valley to this third congregation, he took some with him, and so now there was this division, because the Deer Valley elders said he shouldn't be reappointed, but the circuit overseer reappointed him anyway. So now the Deer Valley elders were mad at these elders, thinking they weren't respected. These elders were mad at these elders because they'd heard this other side of the story. So now here they're going to merge, and the circuit overseer is thinking, what do I do? These elders all hate each other. Well, I'm going to get someone neutral from Midnapore. But there weren't very many of us. Remember, the majority were reassigned. So he asked the most qualified of the Midnapore elders, and that elder was facing some health problems, so he said no. So basically, I was the only choice left. The circuit overseer came to me. He asked if I'd be willing to do it, and he said, given how everything been so messy and taken so long, I had one day to decide. So I was a yes man. I was told to say yes. I said, okay, I'll do it. And I became the coordinator. And it was difficult because these two sides continued to have issue with each other. I saw ambition. I saw narcissism. I saw backstabbing and coming up with plans and calling people liars. And I saw the lying. All these were just imperfect people. But I felt Holy Spirit must have played a role in my appointment. I must have a role here. And so I did my best with the time I had there. Of course, looking back, it's so obvious to me how human the entire process was. My experience is one of countless that shows some evidence that the organization is human, that it's not in any way supported by God, and it's clear to me that Holy Spirit shares no role whatsoever in who ends up in positions of power in the organization. So that's a little bit of my story in terms of how elders are appointed and how I came to my position.